We have been conditioned to believe that intelligence is a measurable metric, a number that defines our capacity for logic and problem solving. We point to SAT scores, to academic degrees, to financial success, and we call it intelligence. But what if that's a dangerously narrow view? What if the most profound form of foolishness has nothing to do with what you know, but with how little you know about yourself? What if true intelligence is not a matter of a sharp mind, but of a conscious soul? The brilliant and enigmatic psychiatrist Carl Jung, a man who ventured into the uncharted depths of the human mind, had a very different and far more nuanced perspective. He understood that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world, and that the most dangerous form of stupidity is not a lack of brain power, but a profound and unconscious ignorance of one's own soul. It's a state where a man lives his entire life as a stranger to himself, his own worst enemy, without even realizing it. According to Jung's profound framework, there are 6 telltale signs that a man is lost in this kind of unconscious state, 6 signs of a psychologically unexamined life. And the truly astonishing thing is that these signs are universal, cutting across all levels of wealth, education, and social standing. The first sign is a persistent and chronic lack of self-awareness, a profound ignorance of his own inner landscape. This is a man who is utterly clueless about his own motivations and the true sources of his emotions. When he is overcome with rage at a minor inconvenience, he will blame the traffic, the incompetence of others, or an unfair world. He cannot connect that rage to his own deep-seated anxiety, his unresolved insecurities, or the unfulfilled desires festering within him. He is trapped in a defensive bubble, unable to admit to his own shortcomings, not out of malice, but because he simply has no inner map. He has never bothered to look inside. When a friend or a partner tries to offer him constructive criticism, he hears it not as a reflection of his own behavior, but as a direct and personal attack. He is unable to see the cause and effect between his internal state and his external actions, and so his life becomes a series of unconscious reactions, not conscious choices. This man is a stranger to the most important person in his life, himself, and more importantly, to the dark, hidden aspects of his own shadow. Moving on to the second sign, we find a man who suffers from an inability to think symbolically. Jung taught us that the human psyche thinks and communicates in the language of symbols and archetypes. The man who lacks this insight is trapped in a purely literal, one-dimensional world. For him, a recurring dream of falling is just a dream about falling. He cannot comprehend that it might be a message from his unconscious about a feeling of losing control in his waking life. He sees a meaningful coincidence, a synchronicity, as just a random fluke of chance. He cannot see the deeper patterns, the interconnectedness, or the purposeful messages that the universe and his own soul are constantly sending him. This literal-mindedness makes his world flat and devoid of wonder. He misses the rich, symbolic tapestry of life, and therefore fails to find deeper purpose or spiritual meaning in the challenges and triumphs he faces. His lack of imagination is not an artistic deficit. It is a psychological and spiritual one. The third sign is a man who is a slave to his persona. In Jungian terms, the persona is the mask we wear for the world, the public identity we create to fit into society. A psychologically healthy man uses his persona as a tool, understanding it is not his true self. But the unexamined man has become his persona. He has entirely forgotten that the mask is not him. He lives his life in constant fear of what others think, meticulously maintaining an image of success, toughness, or piety, even if it contradicts who he truly is inside. He doesn't hold genuine opinions. He holds socially acceptable ones. His desires are not his own. They are a reflection of what he thinks others expect from him. He has sacrificed his individuality on the altar of social conformity, and in doing so, he has stopped growing. His life is an performance, an act, and beneath the polished surface, he is haunted by a profound sense of emptiness and inauthenticity. He is an empty shell, a walking cliché of a person, defined by external approval rather than internal truth. So the fourth sign, a particularly insidious one, is a man who lives in chronic projection. This is a powerful defense mechanism of the unconscious mind. Instead of facing the parts of himself he finds unacceptable, he unconsciously attributes them to others. A man who is deeply insecure and jealous of his own shortcomings will constantly accuse his partner of infidelity. A man who feels weak and powerless will project this feeling onto his employees, criticizing them for their laziness and incompetence. He is convinced that the problem lies with everyone else, never with him. He spends his life fighting battles with ghost shadows of his own unacknowledged shadow, and is perpetually at war with the world around him because he is perpetually at war with his own unexamined mind. This behavior is not just a personality quirk. It's a profound form of self-deception that prevents all genuine connection and personal growth. So the fifth sign is a profound disconnection from his own anima. The anima, in Jungian psychology, is the feminine archetype within a man's psyche. It represents his capacity for intuition, empathy, creativity, and emotional sensitivity. The man of whom we speak has been conditioned to repress this part of himself. He sees emotions as a sign of weakness, dismissing intuition as irrational nonsense. He has built a fortress of rigid logic and aggressive control, believing that this is the only way to be a man. But in doing so, he becomes emotionally stunted, one-dimensional, and spiritually sterile. He lacks empathy, struggles to express love, and is prone to sudden, uncontrolled emotional outbursts because his repressed feelings have no healthy outlet. This rigidity and lack of emotional depth is not a sign of strength, but of a deep psychological wound and a profound ignorance of his own totality. He has cut himself off from the very source of wisdom, compassion, and creative power that could make him whole. Finally, the sixth sign is a lack of a cohesive and meaningful inner life. The unconscious man's life is a collection of fleeting external distractions and consumerist desires. His happiness is derived solely from outside validation or promotion, a new car, a beautiful partner, or a social media like. But when the external world is quiet, when he is left alone with his own thoughts, he feels an unbearable emptiness. He has no internal compass, no personal mythology, no sense of his place in the larger narrative of humanity. He is not connected to his past, his purpose, or his potential. He is a leaf blowing in the wind, entirely at the mercy of chance and circumstance, never truly choosing his own path. This lack of an inner sanctuary, this spiritual void, is perhaps the most tragic form of psychological ignorance, because it robs a man of a life of genuine purpose and fulfillment. So you see, Jung's perspective on what we might call stupidity has little to do with what we learn in school or what our resume says. It is not a lack of facts, but a lack of consciousness. It's the tragedy of a man who, for whatever reason, has failed to embark on the most important journey of all, the journey inward. The journey to know himself, to face his shadows, to integrate his wholeness, and to become the unique individual he was born to be. The good news, the truly hopeful message, is that recognizing these signs is not a cause for despair, but the first, most powerful step toward change. It is a sign that you are ready to stop living on the surface and to begin the profound, life-altering work of becoming truly conscious. It is the beginning of the journey toward wisdom, a wisdom that is far more valuable than any degree or any worldly success, because it is the wisdom of the soul. It is the path to moving from a state of psychological fragmentation and ignorance to one of wholeness and profound insight. And that, in the world of Carl Jung, is the ultimate measure of a man.